Bradley, welcome into the Earl Hall Show, man. I've been looking forward to this interview. Thanks so much for being here with me today, man. This is going to be good.
Yeah, man, it's always good to sit with you, man, and break some bread and conversate, man. So I'm excited about this.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, you've got a project going on, a passion project right now, really dealing with folks that are grieving, and we're gonna get into that particularly because that's like the podcast, the content creation that I've been seeing you put out there. Now, my first experience with you was me understanding that I didn't know anything about Keynote in regards to, in regards to actually video production and creating content and animations on screen and all that stuff. When did this version of Bradley actually begin where you knew you wanted to teach people how to do these graphics and motion graphics and all that kind of stuff using basically the tools they have right on their computer and then some other platforms that are out there as well?
Yeah, really, man, that happened by happenstance.
Okay.
I've been a multimedia designer for nearly 30 years now. I started back in the 90s, and I really started doing it in 1996 when the internet as we know it first was launched. And so I've been at it for a while. And, as I matriculated through that as a profession, COVID hit. Everybody know what COVID is, right?
Yeah.
And so COVID sent everybody home. We were all sitting at the house doing that waste up thing, as I call it.
Yeah.
And everybody started live streaming. Everybody wanted to record video. Mm-hmm. And I was a member of a live streaming group and just hanging out. And a person said, "Hey, I was trying to do this graphic with Keynote and I can't figure it out." And I'm like, "Keynote? Man, I hadn't opened that up in 12 years or so."
Right.
Because I didn't do many presentations. I was doing web development, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cracked open Keynote, figured it out, jumped back in the group and said, "Hey, this is what you meant. This is how you do it." And long story short, some free tutorials and jumping into the group after a few months. And somebody said, because I was just giving this stuff away, and someone said, "Man, can I just pay you for this?" I'm like, "People want to pay for this?"
Yeah.
And I literally
Stuff
started
we
a
just
community.
take for granted, right? It's just stuff we take for granted.
I was just having fun, man, just helping people out and educating folks. And it was truly, or is truly, a community built business.
Okay.
People wanted it. I loved serving. I always loved teaching and serving that way. And I was just having fun, man. It was kind of low key, easy because I was already graphic oriented and it was a new piece of software.
Yeah.
New old, as you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it just grew from there. And so I'm still doing it some now, and helping people in that way. Yeah, but it was just a fun thing to do, man. Just try to empower people and show folks it's like, I've been at this 30 years. There's no reason for you to be jumping through all these hoops and climbing all these ladders to make a lower third or a graphic. Let me show you how to do this with free and low-cost software. Let me show you how to make pro-level graphics with free and low-cost software. That's my little niche in that space, and it's been doing pretty good for me.
Well, I mean, talk to me about some of like the tools that you use then and actually you still use now, and particularly for creating content like podcasts, interviews, and the stuff that you're doing now in the grieving section, helping folks with their grief. What kind of tools are you using to get this message out to those that need to have it?
Yeah, I mean, software-wise, it's more so the Ecamm. That's my favorite live streaming and recording software. But then, I kind of harken back to some of the simple stuff too, right? I use Camtasia for my editing because I pride myself after all of these years.
Back a bit, Camtasia. Yeah.
Because I pride myself on shooting to the edit. I don't shoot 8 hours of content to produce 2 minutes of final video, right?
Right.
If it's going to be a 2-minute video, I'm shooting about 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm shooting to the edit. And so Camtasia is great for that. I cut out the stuff. I cut out the blank spots. I'm good. I don't need Final Cut Pro for that, right?
Right.
Because I've used all that stuff. And it's like, I'm trying to get to this end goal as quickly as possible because I use the Photoshops and all that stuff. I still use Photoshop and Illustrator as my main go-tos.
Yeah.
Yes, I use Canva. I'm a Canvassador.
Yes.
Whatever they call
Absolutely.
that, right?
Love it.
And so I still do. I use some of that stuff, but all my muscle memory is in the Adobe package, and so that's
That's for
still my
me the
home.
same,
So
right? I
yeah,
have the whole Adobe suite, right? From Adobe Audition, Adobe Premiere, Photoshop, just all of those things. What I've found though, because you've got folks nowadays, they're using the stuff like the CapCuts and
right.
all these new different tools that are coming out. And what I've discovered is like I've seen some nice stuff done in CapCut. I even downloaded CapCut 3 weeks ago to play around with it. But what I discovered is that the old folks like us that have actually had to do everything, create all the graphics, use Adobe Premiere to edit videos and things like that, those folks that understand that process use these new tools way better because they
Right.
have a platform. It's like, oh, I want to do this. Kind of takes me back to my engineering days. It's like I was in computer-aided drafting and design. And that was right when CAD, computer graphic design, a online platform came out where you could do it on your computer, right? But before then, we were drawing on boards with a pencil, a
Yeah.
T-square, all that other kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the
Amber
first,
lift, all those things, Exacto blade. Oh yeah,
all of
that's how
that.
I was at graphic design. Yeah.
So the folks that knew it from the old school, they were way better on
Yeah.
the computer version because they understood more about how to achieve what it was
Right.
that they wanted to achieve. And so even
Well,
though I
and
think,
yeah.
no, go
No,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, what I'm thinking also is that, and not saying in the old days, but I think because I used to tell people if all the lights go off, I can still do design work. I don't have to have a computer. But I think it's the idea of using the tool
Right.
to make it do what you want versus opening up the software, grabbing a template, and letting it spit a design back out at you.
Yeah.
All of these things are tools. It's no different than a screwdriver or a hammer. And
Yeah.
so I can open up Photoshop and do something. I can open up Canva and do something. But there's no tails, as I call them, when I design something.
Yeah.
The typical person that's not using Canva as a tool without the idea first, I still use this. I sketch
Right.
stuff out, I
Right.
write down my idea, then it's like, can I make this software do that?
Hmm.
Versus, let me open up a brochure template and change the background, right?
Yeah.
That's where the big disconnect is,
Yeah.
because design is design is design. It's just another tool. But how are you using that tool? Are you making it do something you want to do? I mean, I now harken back to the keynote thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a presentation software package. But I said, I'm going to make video graphics with it. Let me see if I can make it do that
Right.
versus letting it spit out at me presentations only, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole concept of that.
Yeah. That concept of actually being a designer, of actually being a creator, as opposed to just, someone opening up CapCut and just saying, oh, well, I'm just going to use this transition. I'm just going to use this fade in, fade out. But if you knew how to do that inside of Adobe Premiere, it's a whole nother story,
Right.
behind that. How have you, enjoyed, not enjoyed, the whole coaching aspect of what it is that you've been doing and even what you're doing now in your new projects? How did that coach come out in you? Like, how did that actually develop over time?
Yeah, I think that really came from necessity also. I mean, I tell people I've been in the church since I've been a lap baby, right?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mom would bring me to church. I served in Sunday school. I was assistant superintendent of Sunday school, before I was 11, right? Hanging out with the other deacons and serving that way and serving men's ministry, couples
Wow.
ministry, pastoral care. So I've been doing serving a long time.
Okay.
And I was actually in seminary when family tragedy struck, and my 4-year-old granddaughter died in an accident,
Wow.
and it changed my whole ministry focus. Because really, honestly, I felt like I had just found myself because many, many years I was struggling. I was like, I'm gonna be a firefighter, I'm gonna be a police officer, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be this, because I was trying to find that next level of serving. And my wife told me, she was like, it's not that stuff. You are a servant. That's why you keep struggling because you're trying to find the thing like a serving level. No, you a servant. You just serving all these capacities, right? And so I finally had grasped that and really leaned into that. Then my granddaughter passed away because I was in seminary studying to do men's ministry and that kind of thing. And as I was trying to find ways to help me and my family heal and just find content, I couldn't find any. And the servant kicked in, right? Because I'm serving my family, but I was like, there's other granddads like me, there's other grandparents like me, there's other men
Yeah.
and couples and people that have had child loss and other kind of losses. And I leaned into that community and started serving. And nearly instantly, I mean, it was she passed away in May, on May 11th, 2016, and by the end of that year, I'm standing in pulpits and churches talking about grief because that's just where the journey took me. And that's what's been helping me heal, as in letting my grief be witnessed and helping others with their grief. And that kind of turned into coaching, frankly, because people started hearing about me and, man, Brad, I got a friend that just lost his dad. Can I give him your number? I have a so and so that had this loss. Can I give him your number? It's like, of course I'll talk to him. It wasn't about coaching. It was about serving and helping people.
Yeah.
And then one day this gentleman called. He said, man, I love what you're doing and my friend is struggling and I want to gift him your coaching. I'm like, I don't coach. That's not what I do. And he's like, no, but I think he needs more time with you than just a couple of phone calls. And so I spent time with the gentleman. I still didn't charge him. And that's just kind of how that grew, because people knew I was doing that. And in that time, I've also become a fire and police chaplain. And I kind of take those same skills into that because I may be one of the few people that gets called by 911, right? They'll call me and they'll say, a tragedy has happened. Are you available? Yes, I'm available. Well, how fast can you get to XYZ address? And that's all I know. And I get my gear and I go. And I'm coaching, serving in the immediacy of grief. And I think that has put me in such a position to help others, right, that are going through their grief journey and things. And so coaching is kind of a misnomer. I still serve, and I kind of consider myself I call myself a coach, but in the layman's term, I would say more of a trainer, because I want to teach people, whether you're grieving or you're caring for someone who's grieving, teach them and help them with the tools they need to travel this journey well, or serve someone else that's on the journey. And so it's more so that trainer, servant type of thing versus coach.
Well, I mean, that you kind of, it's kind of funny, and I've had conversations like this before. People that have gone through bad experiences, like with you losing your granddaughter, what's her name?
Alana.
Okay. Losing Alana sparked something in you as far as that grief that you had to go through. I have one grandson, right? I can't imagine, his name's Ace. I can't imagine him not being here. He'll get on my nerves every now and then, but you know how that goes.
Right.
But people take tragedy and they do something with it, either good or bad. It's kind of like the difference, like in a hero's journey for like a superhero. All superheroes, they had a tragedy that they went through, and they transformed that into serving. On the contrast, the evil people had a similar tragedy, but they went a complete other direction with that. And so that's how you get the superhero and the bad actor, right? How do you think you were able to go down that road of being the superhero with what it is that you do?
I think it was partially because of the life I was living before the tragedy. And a life of faith, a life of a relationship with Christ, a life of a relationship with my family and other friends. And you don't realize how your life is preparing you for what you're coming up to. Many people don't know this part of my story, but not even a year before Alana passed away, another couple at our church had a tragedy and lost their son. And my wife and I were kind of just called and pulled by our heart to serve them. And we were like, we gonna love on this. It was a young couple, but the age of our kids. They were that age, right? And we loved on this couple and all of that, and and still to today we're very close with them. Who knew that us leaning into their lives and loving on them that way was preparing us for when it was our turn,
Yeah.
right? And so, but having that faith, having that love, having that servant's heart, when that tragedy comes, yes, it's devastating, but you can drop real low, but if you have a foundation, you're not going to get much lower than that.
Yeah.
But what is your foundation, right? It's your family, it's your faith. And if I didn't have those things, who knows where I would be?
Yeah.
I'm thankful I did have that. But I also know that even those that are not of the faith walk, there's a level of fortitude within them, or those that are willing to love on them and nurture them and pull them through, that can help, right? And so I'm just so happy that my family and my faith were at my core, and then friends came in after that and extended family, and just trying to help others have a hero journey, whether it's a walk of faith or not. That's my desire. I happen to have faith. That's what got me through. But if you need my faith and my relationship with God to help you through because you don't have it, I'm
Yeah.
there for that too, right? So it's that kind of thing. But hero's journey is a strong definition of it. Sometimes you'd rather not be a hero because you'd rather not have to go through this to get to where it is.
Right.
Because I tell people I'm honored by this call on my life. I would rather have gotten a call a different way.
Yeah.
Because regardless of the accolades and the handshakes and the hugs and thank yous and all that, I'd still rather have my granddaughter
Yeah.
rather than all of
Absolutely.
that. And I bluntly let people know that, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't minimize my care and my love for them and my desire to live out this call.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I got a text message literally last night. And someone, one of my friends saying, I just lost my cousin, right? 44 years old. And I have traditionally struggled with how do you respond to someone that just says something like that to you, whether it's in person, whether it's in a text message or even on a phone call. Earl Hall struggles with how to respond. How do you respond in those instances, or even, because you don't tell people how to respond. You're the one responding to what
Right.
people are going through. How do you attack that? Because I always have struggled my whole life figuring out how to respond.
I say the best way I can say it is resist the urge to be profound.
Love it.
Because the idea that we can say something to give them relief gives us a false sense of power and control.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so what I tell people, and even when people say they've lost a loved one on Facebook and things like that, and I'm gonna let you behind the curtain a little bit, I rarely speak in a public forum when someone says they have a loss.
Okay.
I jump into their DMs because I don't want to become part of that fodder.
Okay.
And I'm telling them it's like, and I basically say this: I have no words, but I want you to know I love you. And if you will allow me to walk some of this journey with you, I'm here. I said, but I have no words. And I said, now, and I'll pray for your peace and I'll pray for your strength. Because, and this is through just time, right? And I'm not saying anybody else is wrong, but the canned, I'm sorry for your loss and those kind of things, that's surface, right? That's shallow and wide. Let's go narrow and deep. Get
Well, I'm
real.
going to give you, I was actually looking up the text, right, that I got. And it was just this simple. My cousin died last night. He was 44. My response was, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Take care of yourself, man. Grieve however you need to. I'm here if you need me, bro.
That's it.
That's okay.
That's
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times we, for the sake of trying to be profound, right?
Yeah.
We'll get over spiritual, or we'll say these flowery things,
Right.
and it's the point of grief wants to be witnessed, and in our immediate grief, even your friend or your loved one there, that's them. That grief needs to be witnessed. People need to know
Okay.
that I'm hurting, right? And just the idea of I love you,
Yeah.
I'm here, and giving that grief presence, right? I'm not trying to be profound. I'm just giving you my presence by responding.
Yeah.
And the ministry of presence goes a long way.
Well, I'm looking at
And,
the things that you do because you're responding like this was a friend of mine, right? You're literally responding to people you don't know.
in many
Like-
cases, yeah.
In many cases, it's like you're going out to a crime scene or whatever, or something has happened, a tragedy has happened, or you're going out to the hospital, the emergency room, or somewhere. That's a skill set. Like, I don't have it. Like, I honestly, I don't have that. It's like being in your position. I can sense like this is an actual calling for you to be able to do this, especially being a chaplain for the firefighters and being a chaplain for the police department, and having to go into situations where you have no backstory. All you have is this person just died. That's all you have, right? And then you get there and you're witnessing how that family or people are going through what just happened. Man, how do you do this? It's being able to be put in situations like that. It seems insurmountable to me.
There is no official documentation or training
Okay.
for this, and that I have found. And I remember my first police call. I mean, I remember it vividly. I get there was an elderly couple. The wife had transitioned, and they had been married longer than I've been alive.
Wow.
So I'm walking into this situation, and this elderly man had just become a widower. And I walk in, introduce myself, and I have my little name badge on, and the police are there and all of that. And I just tell him, I'm just here. I'm just here for what you need. And I want to just give you space. And so I make my presence felt, but then I give them space to let them know I'm a presence.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me now, you want to talk to me in 15 minutes, you want to talk to me in an hour, can I bring you a bottle of water? You start to handle practical needs. Because there are people and all of their mental capacity has shut down. They don't know they need some water. They don't know they need to sit down. They don't realize they're lightheaded. So you're really there initially to observe. And then you're there to comfort. And I tell people, chaplaincy does not have a religion. I don't ask the people, are they Catholic, Muslim,
Yeah.
Baptist?
Yeah.
They are hurting. So I go in there with the love in my heart of Christ, and I'm going to love on them.
Yeah.
It don't matter what religion they have or lack thereof. Because I've been put in situations when I've been asked to pray for the deceased. And that's not a belief of mine.
Right.
That doesn't change my spiritual placement.
Right.
But if it gives comfort, if it eases, I'm gonna hold that person's hand and lay my hand on the deceased. And these were believers. But in that moment, he's in shock.
Yeah.
Because I could tell he knows what he knows. But in that moment, you're grieving, and all that goes out the window.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to hold your hand, I'm going to lay my hand on your loved one, and I'm going to pray. But I'm going to pray within my belief system, but I'm going to pray, right? And so I pray and I say, God, if this is one of your people and they love you, God, and if they have made the commitment to you, God, they're in your bosom right now. And so, but we're gonna pray for peace of their loved ones that are here. And so we do that. I know I can't do nothing for that person. They're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm gonna provide comfort for their family and that's what they need, I'm gonna do that. Because chaplaincy doesn't have a religion. So the
Mhm.
first thing I have to do is, even when I get there, I'm in a driveway fortifying myself and praying, and God help me take the blinders off and help me see practical things, help me see spiritual things, help me see when the person's about to break down and the right time to touch them and not touch them. Help me see all of that. Move me out of the way, less me, more you. I do that, say amen, make sure my face and stuff is fixed up and
Yeah.
got my breath mints in,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm in the house, right?
Right.
And that's how that goes, and that's over and over. Every experience is a new experience. I remember when my first pastoral care call, I was assigned to a family, and the gentleman was in the hospital, whole family there, immediate family, and he was fine. We're talking like you and I are talking. I'd go see him every other day.
Hmm.
Then I get a call late one night. He's made a turn for the worse, and the doctors say we need to make some decisions. And I'm like, I was just talking to this gentleman.
Yeah.
And I'm stunned, so you can imagine how his family is. And so I get there the next day, and I think I made a post about this. It was just very vulnerable for me, and I had to call my wife, and I said, babe, I need you to pray for me because I might have to watch a man die today.
Mm.
Because I'm serving this family, and they need me there in the last seconds of their loved one's life. They need me there.
Yeah.
But
It
I need to be fortified for that, you know? So,
absolutely. I mean, dealing with grief. I mean, even you hearing like how I struggle with helping people, and don't have the skill set that you have. How is it that you've translated this into the social arena where you are, making posts, you're doing videos, creating content around this? How are you getting these ideas and just putting it out there? And what's been the response?
well, it's frankly, it's been a mixed bag. And
Mm.
I think that because grief is so private and grief is so personal and individual, it's hard for people to respond in a open forum. And I understand that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because a lot of times when I speak, there's people in the room, usually mostly women, because grief is still seen as a feminine
mm.
emotion that we need to get over. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
But
God, I'm okay. I'm okay.
right,
I'll be all right.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so a lot of people come to the room, but then the DMs and the emails come versus live
Right.
interaction.
Yeah.
And I'm a live interaction type of person. So had I not done all the other stuff with my graphics and all of that in the
Yeah.
live form and being able to speak into empty rooms, this would
Right.
be harder.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that, right? So even that was preparing me for this.
Definitely.
But and so I try to figure out what people are struggling with in a general sense and give answers to that are practical. I'm leaning more biblical and Christian now. I
Hmm.
started off really practical, but people just knew my heart, right? Because I didn't want to alienate anybody. But then I had to also realize I'm not for everybody. That's the same reason we got McDonald's and Wendy's. That's the same reason we
Yeah.
got a church every 3 or 4 miles, right?
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
I had to lean more into me and stop censoring, so to speak, myself into giving the fullness of my faith walk along with my grief work. And so, yeah, I just try to answer questions that I think people are dealing with, answer some of the things I was dealing with or am dealing with. But I still feel, and I'll say it bluntly about myself, I still think I'm still a little too generic
Okay.
and not releasing all of it yet because that's still a hurdle for me because I'm not the only one that lost my granddaughter.
Right.
My family lost her. And I know diving a little bit deeper into that experience, into those stories, can rip off band-aids for them. And I'll never do anything that hinders someone else's healing.
Yeah.
But I have to also understand that this is my story and everyone may or may not like it, right? And so
But
I'm
that's
starting to
okay.
pull the curtain off a little bit more. And that's okay.
Hmm.
And that's part of what I teach, right? Is that you have to make people aware of your grief, but you have no control in how they respond to your grief. And I'm starting to live out that more now. It's like, okay, I'm not doing this to hurt anybody.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
only doing this for my healing and others' healing. So more and more of that kind of content is coming out now. Yeah, but I use, I'm on Facebook. It feels like Facebook is the best place for that. TikTok is doing okay. Instagram is doing okay. Have a YouTube channel. And so my thing is just doing more and more of me and less of the general stuff,
Sure.
right? And so, but yeah, it's been doing pretty well. But I love going live. I love speaking to groups. I love trying to interact with people. And that's been a tougher hurdle to get people to open up that way. But they're starting to. I've done a couple of podcasts recently that we took some deep dives into some grief things.
Okay.
And we didn't finish, right? So I jumped back on my Facebook page and said, hey, here's part two. Here's part three. Here's part four. We just keep talking
Yeah.
about it. And more people talk. And so, but I'm going to start possibly doing more lives than anything else and doing maybe a weekly live or every other week go live and make it more like not a TV show, so to speak, but
Yeah.
it's coming every Tuesday at this time. And you
Right.
can jump in, I think, and then when people know I'll be there all the time, they'll realize it's more of a safe space where they can share.
That'll make a
But that's been the
difference.
biggest hurdle. Yeah. So,
Yeah. I mean, Facebook is that place where people go to for connection, right? So
right.
you're getting that connection there, whereas something like YouTube is more of a platform for people that are looking for instruction. I call YouTube an intent-based platform where people are
Yes.
actually going in, typing in things that they want to know or learn. And so if they want to know about grief, okay, they may type in some sort of common term and be able to find what you're doing on YouTube. But yeah, Facebook is that place for connection. That's,
Right.
usually what
Right.
what people want. And you've already expressed like you're looking to do some different things just in regards to setting a regular schedule so that people can find you. Right now, where can or how should people go about finding you? And we're going to post your links in the description for the
Yeah.
video as well so people can jump right to it.
I think the best place is either on my website, which is myname.com, bradleyvinson.com,
Hmm.
or on Facebook, and I'm there as Bradley Vinson. Those are
Okay.
probably two of the main spaces just to see my content and or reach out to me. I'm working on mailing lists and stuff like that now too. And it's weird because the multimedia designer part of me, there is a way I did that to make it successful, but it just feels like I need to do something different with the grief, and I know better. What works, right?
Right. Yeah.
We all know that. But I think when we start dealing with heart work and
Yeah.
we're trying to do things with, we think it's so special that the tried and true stuff
Right.
don't work for that. And it does. And but I like being honest, right? That's part of the growing pains I'm going through with this is that, no, that worked for graphics. Just do that over here on the grief side. It'll work.
Yeah.
The right people will see it. And so I'm still kind of inching my way through that because it's more heartstrings, more emotional.
Yeah.
And I tend to feel like I need something different for it. But
Well,
but what works, right?
exactly. What works works. There's all these different levels of grief, right? And so, like, the thought that came into my head, it's like when I listen to you talk, I'm looking at, okay, someone just died and Bradley's helping them through it. That's kind of what I'm seeing. But is it that, or is it, hey, I just lost my job, I need someone to talk to? Like, those are two very different types of things that people go through. Where is your major focus for folks?
I would say because of just how generally people, when they hear the word grief, they think it's usually due to loss by death.
Okay.
So that is probably the number one. But I think hearkening back to COVID a little bit, COVID helped us all realize what we were grieving. And it made grief a thing because people were grieving loss of livelihood, loss of health, loss of loved ones by death, but loss of relationship because you wasn't around people anymore. And
Yeah.
all these losses were affecting us. So, yes, I still speak to people in those other realms of loss, but usually when you say grief, people expect it to be about loss due to death. So that's probably the a number one, but then the number one and a half, number two is usually something like terminal illness, loss of
Okay.
health is probably the number two, and all the rest are kind of like clumped together. But those are probably the big two: loss due to death and loss of health. It's probably the two biggest things that people reach out to me about.
Okay. Well, Bradley Vinson, thank you so much for being on the Earl Hall Earl, I can't even talk now. My own joke, the Earl Hall show today. This has been a long time coming for us to actually be together on something like this, and I'm so super excited to be able to share your story with this audience. And like I said, we're going to link to the places that people can find you and the link in the description. So I want to make sure that people do reach out to you from that perspective. But thank you so much for your time and being on the Earl Hall show with me today.
Thank you for having me, brother. We'll talk again soon.